Hey guys, it's Mike and Ricky, and this week we are talking about Loki Season 2. Michael, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. We're getting close to the turkey time, and that time of year where I'm kind of, I don't know, you have your New Year resolutions already about wanting to lose weight and get back in shape, and you haven't even eaten the, everybody's throwing out the desserts and the pies and all this stuff. So
Yep.
we're getting to that season again.
Yes.
And and I was thinking about my granddad. When he was 65, he was all about fitness.
Okay.
I remember as a kid, I forget how old I was, but I remember Grandpa, he was 65 and he started running a mile a day to keep fit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's about 70 now and we have no idea where he's at. Yeah. I love you, Grandpa.
It's the Speaking Nerdy podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe. Haven't seen him forever. I mean, left the house one day, and that was it.
Silly Michael.
So what's up?
We're going to talk about Loki.
Oh, that's awesome.
Tonight.
Are we supposed to have like a word from our sponsor? No, do we supposed to have like a word, like, hey, we know these people, they're awesome, but really we're just shilling, for no reason. Yep. Do they pay us for promoting them?
No, they don't pay us. They allow us to be on their network. So here's a message from our friends at Tatooine Sons.
Hey nerds, this is David with Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of our generation. There is a story, it is written on our souls, and that all of these myths speak to that story. And that is why every Tuesday I talk about Star Wars and Marvel and DC and Lord of the Rings and whatever nerdy things we can think of with my two sons, Sam and Nate. It is a 30 to 45 minute celebration of all the weirdness that we love so much. Basically, Mom said we couldn't talk about it at the kitchen table anymore, so we decided to start a podcast. We hope you'll check it out. It's on every podcast app out there. Tatooine Sons. That's Tatooine SONS.
Yeah, it's like
just two sons.
Just two sons.
Luckily, there's only two sons, so then Tatooine Sons makes sense.
Makes sense.
If there were three sons,
it
wouldn't make sense. Or if there was just one son, then it that wouldn't make sense either.
Okay. So. Anyway, so yeah, back to what we're talking about. We're season 2 Loki. It's done.
Yes, it's over, and we're going to give our review and our thoughts and the good, the bad, and the ugly. If there are any good, bad, and uglies,
I don't know.
But we'll get to that in a few minutes. Maybe we should start out with some nerdy news.
Some nerdy news, you say, as I scroll to find the intro. Hey.
It's time for the nerdy happenings of the week.
There you go.
I had the same problem earlier when I was trying to find the intro for the
intro.
Show.
Good.
Well, in box office news this week, the Marvels new release from Marvel.
But that did great.
Marvels.
And it made $1 billion, didn't it?
It took number one at the box office.
Oh, there you go.
That is something.
That has to be a success.
Over the weekend, it earned $46 million domestically, and has a grand total worldwide gross of $114 million. So compared to some other movies recently, not horrible, but it is technically like the worst opening weekend for a Marvel film so far. So
Man.
that's an issue. How will that affect Disney Marvel in the future? I don't know. Because we just kind of have seen a downward
Yeah.
trend of Marvel openings.
Yeah, we should
But
speculate at the end.
we should speculate at the end, no doubt.
Yeah.
Um, so Five Nights at Freddy's comes in second place,
Okay.
adding another almost $9 million. That movie it came in first place 2 weeks in a row. So this third week it came in second. So that movie's doing really well if you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan. Are you familiar with that franchise?
Oh yeah, I go there all the time for their burgers and fries. I mean, that's some good stuff.
So for those who aren't in the know, it was a horror-based video game where you
Oh yeah, okay. I was thinking
you
of Five
showed up.
Guys, the
Yeah, you show
burger
up.
place. Uh,
You show up
yeah,
at Freddy's, which is like
yeah.
I don't remember if it's supposed to be a pizza place or not, but it's kind of
Yeah,
like Chuck E. Cheese, but in a horror setting.
which is
So
the same to me as a kid.
Taylor Swift continues to be in the top five. Comes in third this week. Priscilla, the biopic for
Mm-hmm.
the Priscilla Presley
Yes.
biopic, comes in fourth. And Killers of the Flower Moon continues to be in that top five. So that movie's
Mm-hmm.
doing pretty strong. The domestic gross on that movie isn't super high, but I expect that one to show up in the Oscar nods.
Yeah,
I would expect that.
Well, I think part of it too is streaming on Apple too.
It is
then
going to stream on Apple, yes.
So yeah,
So that's that real quick. I got a couple things just to mention really fast,
yeah. Go ahead.
and then kind of the big thing. So Marvel's Madam Web dropped a trailer this week. That is the Sony Spider-Verse movie.
Okay.
It'll be a female-led movie. It looks like well, just because I knew some of the casting, it sounded like they were going to depart pretty far from the Madam Web comics. And I think that's even maybe further than I thought they were going to go. I'm a little confused as to what the real point of that is and how it, other than the name, I'm not sure how it connects really with the comics.
Gotcha.
But it will have to do with visions, being able to see the future. Let's put it that way. So,
Okay.
But in a superhero style universe.
Gotcha.
Then Avengers: The Kang Dynasty has lost its director. So the director, Destin Daniel Cretton, has been released from the film, and that could mean that there is going to be some major changes there. Some of the people that I follow are suggesting that the movie is no longer going to be called Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, that it will have a new name. And many people are suggesting that Kang is basically out.
Yeah.
One guy I follow strongly suggests that they're going to go with Doctor Doom, but he is hopeful that they won't just drop Doctor Doom in, and instead they will just begin a slow buildup going forward. So maybe, rather than just
out of the blue.
Just out of the blue making the switch, instead kind of restarting at square one with Doctor Doom. So a lot of conjecture out there. I don't know that I've heard anything hard and fast on that, but the director is still on the books for the Wonder Man series for Marvel.
Okay.
That'll be a Disney Plus show. So it looks like they haven't lost faith in the director. It looks just like they're probably making a big turn as to what that movie is going to be. Let's see. Pedro Pascal has come up, and
Yeah.
it looks like he is at least in talks to play Reed Richards of the Fantastic
Hmm.
Four.
I don't want him
I'm
playing
not
Reed. No, I'm not excited about that.
I'm not sure I like that.
No, no,
I love Pedro Pascal.
I do
I'm
too, but
just not
no,
sure he's the right character for that.
no.
The right actor for that character.
I love,
Um,
yeah. I like the other actor who played him in the last Doctor Strange movie.
yes, it was great
And
casting.
yeah,
It
he was
fit really
awesome.
well. He looked the part. He played the part well.
Yeah,
But it looks like that's not the way we're going to go. But
he
I
actually wants. Actually, the actor has mentioned that he would love to play that character, and I can never. I can't never remember. I don't pronounce his last name, John
yeah
Karninsky. Yeah, but that's too
yeah.
bad.
So
But not
we'll have
quite.
to wait and
No.
see. It doesn't appear to be set in stone.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get lucky and he'll play some other character where you don't see his real face,
Yeah,
and
I
maybe
like him. I mean,
he
I
can
like
be the
Pedro
thing.
Pascal. I'm a fan. I like his stuff. I just don't
Oh, I
see
do too.
he's just not. Yeah, it's not the part for him.
I agree. So then the big announcement is
Big.
that the SAG
Mm,
actor strike is over? Question mark. It's kind of over.
uh,
What I mean
yeah,
is,
it is because I saw the nanny. The nanny went, yeah, we won.
so that is the deal. There has been an agreement, and there's lots of documents out there. There's
Hmm.
apparently like 128-page document to
Yeah.
lay out all of the bits and pieces. Um, but the actors have just started voting.
Hmm.
Just started voting yesterday, I believe. Um,
Yeah,
so
this is a long
there's
drawn out process.
I
Yeah.
know. So there's some slim possibility that the actors could turn it down, but I doubt it. It
Hmm.
generally, if the leadership has said yes, then
Yeah.
the actors fall in line. Much like the writer's strike, it was more of a formality than anything else.
Gotcha.
Couple of things. So some of the concern was the use of digital and AI replacements for actors.
Hmm.
So there has been some definition there. And one of the things you and I discussed,
Hmm.
because there was this concern that a um, a uh, a studio could
Hmm.
digitally scan a person, an actor, pay them for the one day, send them home, and be done, and
Yeah.
reuse that content over and over and over and over again.
Hmm.
So apparently, in the contract, it's written in that they get paid for the day, for the scanning, and then they get residuals for the production that they're going to be in,
Hmm.
and they will get paid for any future projects that the scan is used in, which
Wonder
is
how
kind of
that.
what I said.
Yeah.
If they're going to do this, that's really the only way it makes sense. That once you've scanned the actor, if you're
Yeah.
using them as background, you have to pay them every time you use that again.
Now, yeah. Now, if you're, you might know this. Now, if you're an extra, like a
Mhm,
crowd, do you have to
mhm.
be officially an actor? Do you have to be in the Actors Guild to be the back? To be, I guess,
No,
extras? No.
no, and
Okay.
that's kind of that may be a little bit of wiggle room there,
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
because usually to be SAG eligible, you
Yeah.
have to have had some speaking parts.
Gotcha.
So, but big productions have to use a certain number of um, union actors on their project. So it
Gotcha.
may come down to a yes, in a huge crowd scene, you could get away with some non-union actors. But if you've only got a few background people
Hmm.
and a few main actors, you probably have to use all union actors because you simply don't have enough percentage.
Gotcha.
So, but that's all technical stuff that I don't honestly know, but that's my best understanding.
Gotcha.
The other side of that is if they use existing footage to create a digital character, they have to get consent from the original actor, and they get the same kind of pay and residuals. And with the consent deal, even more so, if they put dialogue in that person's mouth, the actor has to consent to the dialogue.
So I wonder how that would work. For instance, like Rogue One, Carrie Fisher was already gone, and they used Princess Leia.
I have not seen
like
anything.
Does it go to family if you're deceased? I mean,
that is a question that I do not know the answer to.
It's probably
and I haven't found anything that says.
Yeah.
But so some quick things. That was kind of one of the big things that I read about. There is going to be a minimum compensation increase, and it'll be for main performers as well as background actors. So both are going to get a bump, and they're going to get an annual bump for 2 years. The streaming bonus is in the contract, but from everything I've read, there's not a hard and fast rule for what the streaming bonus will be. So it may differ based on the production. Disclosure of viewership stats. This is from CBS News. It says, on high-budget streaming productions, streaming producers will be required to disclose the total number of hours the content was streamed, both in the U.S. and Canada and abroad, for each quarter. That's intended to help actors determine if they'll be fairly compensated. Now, what it doesn't say here, it doesn't say whether that will be public or only disclosed to people in the production. Limits on artificial intelligence, which is what we just talked about. A minimum number of background actors. So let's see. Requires that an increased number of background actors are hired on union terms. So that kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. Even if they're not union, they have to be, a certain percentage of them have to be booked under the union contract, even if they're not union members. So basically the same kind of pay, the same kind of thing there. And reallocation bonuses. So performers in series who have to relocate, or relocation bonuses. So this is actually something I hadn't heard about before. If an actor has to relocate for a production, there's a bonus for that. So probably that has more to do with actors in a long-term TV series.
I would think so. Yeah. Not so
I
much for a movie or a film.
No, not when a lot of shooting schedules for films will be like 30 days or 45 days tops.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of the big news there for the SAG-AFTRA. I expect sometime next week we'll hear officially that it has passed. I can't imagine it not passing.
No. It seemed like there's a lot of excitement from the actors and leadership. So I can't see it not passing. So.
Yep. Well, that is all I have, unless you have something else.
No, I don't have anything else. No, I do not. And that was some nerdy happenings of the week.
And that's all for the nerdy happenings of the week.
Does that mean that we get like royalties as well? I mean, do that mean that you and me, every time, this is played, this podcast, that you and me, we get like a royalty check?
We will each get a percentage of all the money earned
all the money earned
based on this podcast.
on this podcast.
Unfortunately, as of right
Yeah,
now,
right now.
the total amount of money that we've earned as a podcast is 0.
Yeah. That's
so
well, that's a start.
we're going to get a percentage of that 0.
You're gonna present that 0, man. So we're getting something. It sounds like. I mean, I'm not big on math, but you put a 1 in front of that 0 eventually, then you're making.
I want to say something. I want to make some comment about something about nothing, but I can't quite make the joke.
Quite make the joke won't fit through.
But speaking of something, do you have some stupid news for us today?
I do have some stupid news I would love to share with the people out there.
It's the weird and stupid news with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
Ricky, I love me some Chick-fil-A. I'm telling you, nothing like
good stuff.
Good old chicken. I always tell people that's God's chicken because they close on Sunday, which makes no sense because, anyway, that's a different story for a different time. But firefighters, they also love Chick-fil-A, especially in DC. That's right. A DC firefighter with his partner stopped for a fast food while on an emergency call in March has been terminated.
Oh.
Yeah. 2 firefighters, EMT assigned to Ambulance 3, stopped at a Chick-fil-A in Northeast DC around 4 p.m. instead of responding to a call of a woman suffering chest pains.
Oh,
just a mile away. Yes, the firefighters said that they had already ordered their food on the app. And I can understand, you order your food on the app, nothing worse
You've
than
already paid for it.
Yeah. Chick-fil-A, cold Chick-fil-A is not good. The waffle fries, they have to be hot. So anyway, so they decided to stop for literally a few minutes tops, according to the DC Fire and EMS special report obtained by the local news. Now, the report was written by one of the firefighters, and they said there was no delay in the patient's care response, and we had hot fries. He didn't say that, but So anyway, our sources familiar with the investigation said that the reason Ambulance 3 was assigned to the call was because it was closer than any other medic unit. Okay, so they had a trial, and it was determined, that they're no longer employed with the DC Fire Department. So now they can eat all the Chick-fil-A they want any time of the day. So
all the Chick-fil-A they can afford.
Yeah. So anyway, just they love some Chick-fil-A.
Apparently.
And of course, coming up, we got Thanksgiving coming up, and there's Black Friday deals, a lot of things that surround Thanksgiving. Well, the owners of Roof Easy, okay, that's the name of a company. Roof Easy just announced a Thanksgiving special unlike you've ever heard of before. And they're based down in Southwest Florida. Get that.
Okay. Top notch.
So right now, if you purchase a roof during the month of November, okay, and then we're in November now, right? A roof. Like
a roof.
What do you think I said? Like, what did you think?
I thought you said Ruth. Ruth, like the name, like a person's name.
No, they're not selling slaves.
My sister's name was Ruth. So.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, no, they say okay.
I got sidetracked. Okay, a roof.
Okay. Yes, if you purchase a roof, during the month of November, not only will you get a free frozen turkey, but you'll also get a free AR-15 semi-automatic rifle.
Okay, well.
You'll get a free AR-15 semi-automatic rifle. That's right. The president of EZ says that the turkey will get you all sitting at the table so you can spend time together. The roof protects you from, the roof will protect your home, and the AR-15 will protect your family. So basically it's all about family.
All about protection.
Yes. He said the package deal He said it couldn't be any better for this time of year, and he said, I actually saw this idea. A company actually did it in Alabama. Imagine Alabama.
Okay, I can see
Okay,
that.
nothing like roof, turkey, and automatic weapons. You know. So anyway, so this is the most Florida thing you can see. You know, and anyway, it's kind of wild. You can again, it's. He also says if you don't want an AR-15, they'll knock $500 off the price. So there you go.
Okay.
I mean, it's a win-win situation. So he's giving you a choice, you know. And who knew an AR-15 was only $500? I didn't know that. So anyway, so folks, you know what to do. You know, go to Chick-fil-A, or you can get a roof with a semi-automatic weapon. That's what the holidays are all about. So that's all I got. That's all I got.
This has been the Weird and Stupid News with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling. You've heard the Chick-fil-A joke about the guy who wants to make a food truck that parks in the Chick-fil-A parking lot and sells chicken sandwiches on Sundays. He's going to call it Side Chick.
Side Chick. That'd be I would invest in that. I would.
It would probably make money.
Probably make money. That's the only time I really am hungry for Chick-fil-A. It's like, man, it sounds really good. It's a Sunday. So anyway,
it happens.
Anyway, so tonight, or I guess whenever you're listening, it's not tonight. Ooh, I just give away when we do our podcast. So anyway, we just got done watching Loki season 2. The finale, and it was, you know, I didn't think what I thought about in the beginning. As I watched it, I enjoyed it more, and there's this last episode. There's just so much, and for me, it's not only so much, but there's a lot of question marks about the future of the franchise, not just Loki itself, the entire MCU, and it opens up a lot of loopholes for issues that Marvel is having with certain people and actors. So there's a lot going on there, and we'll talk about that tonight, and maybe a little bit about what's going on with Marvel. You know, there's a lot of speed bumps. You know, so anyway. I don't know how we want to start this tonight, but kind of tell me your thoughts about it. Kind of told me a little bit before the show. We were having a conversation how it's kind of got a little convoluted a little bit, or
So I was
to share some of that with me.
I was super confused because we watched the first episode of
and we did
2,
we did a
quick review of it, and we liked it. We thought it was good. And we made fun of Braxton, Oklahoma, and we looked it up on the internet, and we found out
an actual person made a comment on it.
Yes,
it was from Braxton, Oklahoma.
On our video, somebody
that was
commented
awesome.
that was from Braxton and confirmed that yes, there is no McDonald's in Braxton, Oklahoma.
That's so funny.
So we were pretty sure we were right when we looked it up on Google Maps, but he confirmed it. His dad still lives there. But we thought it was a good episode. But I was super confused when I watched the second episode, because the first episode, as I recall, ended with Victor Timely on a stage, and Mobius and Loki were in the audience watching this. Am I correct? Am I dreaming this?
Well, now the first episode, at the end, we get like the postscript where Sylvia is at McDonald's. Okay, yeah, that's correct. And then the second episode is they're chasing after they're going after the other variant. The other variant, who was he was part of the TVA. He was one of the, I would say maybe the hunter, and he
Maybe
was
I'm just remembering it
yeah.
incorrectly.
Some time has passed, and there's so much that happened on these shows, but I think I get what you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, I was confused as to
A
where
little bit.
the episode ended, and maybe I just am remembering it wrong because I didn't go back and watch the first episode again. But I was thinking it ended with Victor Timely on stage, but then the second episode started, and that wasn't where they were because
Yeah.
that didn't happen until the third episode.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm just remembering the trailer. I don't
it could
know.
be. It could be. So,
But
yeah.
yeah, it was super. I was super confused, and the rest of the season didn't really help me much figure out what was going on.
Going on.
I
Yeah.
was thoroughly confused. But
I know. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I love to interrupt.
overall, I thought it was really good. The time jumping involved
The slip,
made it
time slipping thing, kind of.
time slipping
Yeah.
that made it very convoluted.
Yes, it did.
And I also had Marvel has created this weird. I don't know if they've created it, but they had an explanation for time travel.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what happens when they travel in time on Loki season 2. Because
it's very
yeah, in the Avengers movies, they talk about time travel. It's like when you go back to a different time, you create a new timeline, but they didn't create new timelines. It was all one timeline.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So it got very confusing very quickly, but it was interesting at the same time.
Yeah, I thought it was. It reminded me of MCU Groundhog Day because it was like
Yes.
it's it was like
That
Groundhog
last
Day.
episode was
Yeah, it's the last
definitely
episode.
Groundhog
Yeah,
Day.
it's pretty wild how each time he's trying to keep from having to kill Sylvia to figure out how to stop Kang.
He who remains. Yeah,
He who remains. Yeah, so
And I did actually really like the whole groundhog thing.
I did.
And
I liked it too.
and Mobius's reaction when he would say this time. What do you mean this time?
Each time he would jump in and he's done this so many times that Loki now is an expert to whatever physics or whatever it is. So everybody's looking at him like he's a genius.
Centuries later.
So, because we have to realize, Loki is kind of a god, in a sense. So, he's immortal. So he is, yeah.
As far as the Marvel universe is concerned, he is a form of God. That's a little weird. That's a little weird term for the MCU because they play fast and loose on the definition of what a god is and what a god isn't.
But it's. I mean, this Loki had a total transformation from the Loki we know from Thor and from being smashed by Hulk. I mean, this is a different Loki.
And that is actually an interesting thing. We have now seen Loki have 2 entirely separate redemption arcs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're right. You're right.
We have the Avengers redemption arc.
Yeah.
Through Endgame. Where he basically gave up his life to try to save his brother, but that didn't really work either. But then we have this whole other redemption arc, a whole different thing. A whole different kind of resolution.
Yeah, and see that's the interesting thing. It was the last line. He kept trying to over and over and over again to see how they could overcompensate for all these timelines. I forget the name of this. It's almost like a big funnel or something that it all goes through, and and it's every time it multiplies and it multiplies, and it just can't keep up with it fast enough. So that was his whole thing. What can I do? What can I do? And finally it comes right down to, he decides, he's going down there instead
Yep.
of, and what was He Who Remains, who was that particular character? What was his name? The one from, I guess, the night,
Victor Timely.
Victor Timely, who in this was, I don't want to say heroic, but he wasn't a villain in this.
Right.
It was a variant, even Sylvia, he convinced Sylvia not even to kill him,
Yeah.
So I found that was fascinating.
And that is an interesting thing. So so if you haven't watched this series so far, we haven't said, I don't think, anything that would help you even begin to understand.
No. I mean, and I don't think we.
But the next thing I'm going to say really is kind of a plot point at the very end.
Yeah.
They change enough things. He changes enough things at the end that Victor Timely never becomes He Who Remains.
Exactly.
So does that mean, so I'm confused. Is Victor Timely the first He Who Remains? So if he doesn't become Kang, He Who Remains, none of his variants.
Well, see, now what's interesting in that, and just get to the goodie, the end, if you want to, where Loki, he goes out there himself and he said, "What are you doing?" And Morbius and him, you can just see they have this really kinship between the two of them. I really loved how that relationship becomes real brotherly, how they bonded.
Yes.
So he says, I'm doing what gods do, and I wish I could remember that line. It was a great line, and it was something about how, I'm a god, or we're guards, that's what we do, or something. And he went out there and basically he became that buffer, that conduit. And it was great. That CGI of him just pulling all the timelines, and all suddenly he's sitting and basically all the timelines funnels through him. It's like he's holding them all, or something like that. And so it really gives the sense that, he's somewhat of a godhead of some kind, of keeping the universe and timelines together.
He is kind of the new He Who Remains.
Exactly.
Because they do play back on the whole, which I think is great. This is definitely, this definitely wraps up the first season as well, because we go all the way back to the first episode. And the first conversation between Mobius and Loki. And, we get that conversation, because he talks about, Mobius talks about, that, you want a throne. What kind of throne do you want?
Yeah.
And Loki's original comment was, I deserve the throne. I was born to rule on a throne.
But this is totally a different situation. Was not what he was. This is totally sacrificial on his part, because he knows that this is, in his mind in the beginning, if the Loki that we knew before, this was not what he had in mind. And
the line you were looking for earlier is, he says, I know what kind of god I need to be.
Oh, that's awesome. What a great line.
That's a great line.
That gives me goosebumps. Great line. And he goes out there and he sacrifices himself for his friends. That's really what it comes down to. He sacrifices himself for his friends. And
turns this branching timeline into a time tree.
Exactly. And there's some kind of North lore about this, but I don't
So
know
yes,
enough
there
about
is,
this.
and it's also part of Marvel's lore.
Okay, yeah.
The 9 realms all exist
Okay,
on as part of
gotcha.
the tree. Um, but that gets a little weird because it's a little confusing because we hear about that tree in one of the early Thor movies. I don't remember if it's the first one or the second one. Um, he talks about that tree. So I don't know that it's actually supposed to be that tree, or if they're saying now Loki made the tree that Asgard
Okay, yeah.
exists in. That's one of those that's a little more esoteric and hard to explain, or and since we're doing time jumping, theoretically it's possible that now Loki is the one who caused the tree that Thor talked about in his first movie.
Exactly. Well, and my deal is, does the multiverse resides within these timelines? I mean, the multiverse is a weird deal, and
Mm-hmm.
so does this all falls into place? So does, if that's the case, is Loki now, he is the all being of all of this? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I mean. Now you're in the situation where, okay, Marvel, what do you do if now Loki is the center of all of this? How do you refer to him? How do you, how do these future movies? Because this is a pivotal thing. I mean, this is not
Yeah.
a small thing. So
Right.
how do you now go beyond this?
And
Do you,
that is an interesting question, because I feel like the way this wrapped up,
yeah,
that Hiddleston is probably done.
you think
That
so?
this, I think so. I
Okay.
think this is the last we see of Loki as a real character,
Mm-hmm.
unless we get some weird flashback or you know
Yeah.
some more time jumping weirdness
Yeah.
where we
Yeah.
see an old Loki. um, but I feel like with him as the center of this new tree of
Yeah.
time, I feel like it's kind of done.
Yeah. I can see
Now,
that.
if we go back and we say, if they say this is the tree that Thor's talking about, and now
Mm-hmm.
Loki created the tree, and it's
Mm-hmm.
always been a tree now because Loki created it because of timey-wimey things.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then
Did
Loki
you
kind of
did
becomes
you just
this.
go Doctor Who on me?
I did go
Okay,
Doctor
I
Who
just
on you
wanted to
for
make
just a
sure.
minute.
I just wanted to make sure I
Um,
pointed that out. Go ahead.
so there's a slight possibility
Mm-hmm.
that he could have a different name,
Yeah,
and not be the one who remains,
could
and
be Doug.
he could be
Yeah,
Doug,
could be
but
Doug.
he could be the one above all,
Okay.
which is a Marvel character that is kind of the god of the
Now,
Marvel universe.
I was reading some articles, and it was talking about, will there be an episode 3? And
Season
we,
3.
yeah, sorry, season 3. And there was some chatter about it, and I could see, of course, it would probably be under a different name. It'd be under the TVA, because Morbius and some of the other characters from the TVA, their job afterwards was, now they have to, now they're chasing down variants on each timeline that could be He Who Remains, or is it? Yes.
Well, see, that was what I was confused about. So even though Victor Timely never becomes the one who remains, there still are variants, and
Yeah.
that seems, that got a little confusing to me. So what they're saying is they've only taken care of the one.
Yes.
by never giving him the TVA manual because they pruned um, uh, um, the leader lady. I can't remember her name now. They
Slayer.
pruned her. Yeah, Renslayer. They pruned
Renslayer.
her so she never gave the book to him.
Yeah.
But that got a little weird for me.
But I think after that, then they said, okay, but now we have to go to the other timelines and make sure that, we have to make sure he doesn't exist in any of those other ones.
Well, see, and that's where it all
kind of got weird
because
I mean, did he get the same thing?
There's only been one time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I mean.
Why wasn't Loki creating multiple timelines every time he jumped back?
Time slipping. Exactly. Yeah. So that's the other thing. I could see there being a TVA series, Owen Wilson being in it, and the other people.
I can see that.
And so,
I thought for a brief moment that Owen Wilson's character, that Mobius, was gonna go back and be a dad again, but I guess not. He just went back to see himself be a dad again.
Well, he went back to see himself to be a dad again, and he wanted. Yeah, that was the other weird deal. But he actually went back, and for Loki, for Loki to be able, there was something he was trying to accomplish, and so he had to go back, and he had to go back where all the individuals were at, like Morbius and I can't remember the lady who was the main hunter.
Yeah, 115.
115, and who is the one guy? He's like just a support person, like Ken or whatever.
I can't remember his name right. I can't remember his
character. Yeah, but he's escaping Alcatraz or something. I mean, that of all things.
Of all things.
And then Sylvia, of course, is working at the McDonald's in Braxton, Oklahoma in the 80s that doesn't exist. So we got that. So for some reason he had to bring all these people back to be able to, and I slipped my mind what they had to do. They got back together, got the band back together.
Yeah, so
that's what he had to do.
Scan all of their essences so that they could retarget the area, and then never had to do that.
Never had to do that. Yeah. It's interesting, but I would like to see, I like the TVA. I mean, I think they changed their mandate. Now there's to protect all the timelines, from my understanding. And to do that, that's why they're sending out agents to protect these timelines by preventing He Who Remains or variants of that to come in fruition. So that's my understanding. But again, it's very convoluted. Exactly. And it's just, I don't know if it's just one of the things you have to accept. It is what it is and just move on.
Unfortunately, I think that's really where we are.
Yeah. So anyhow, so with this said, now I've tried to make sure that everything I had my little notes. Okay. there's so much going on. Okay. Is there going to be a season 3? Is there going to be, okay. Yeah. Okay. Huddleston. Okay. Okay. Now, okay. Now the plot hole, the elephant in the room is Jonathan Majors. Okay. The elephant in the room is, okay, now this opens up a loophole for, Feige and the rest of the guys that go, okay, now we can sweep Jonathan Majors under the rug. We can pretend like this, tie this up in a nice knot.
Gone and pruned all of the Jonathan Majors across the multiverse and call it good. Yes.
Now previously
gives them the ability to do that.
So then we were talking about previously, and I think it was during Nerdy News, you talked about how that we were talking about how some things,
the Avengers Kang Dynasty lost their director.
Exactly. So that's kind of a tie into that. So I do think this is giving a lot of opportunities here. Now, the funny thing about it, though, what's interesting was that, when they did Loki, Jonathan made it, they already made it.
Right.
And and Major, who were having all these civil whatever
Yeah.
was going on. So it was already done. So, but just by chance, what they've done is, okay, now we can use this. We've given ourselves an opening to do whatever we want to do with
Yes.
it. And I honestly think that's what Marvel is doing. Okay, now we can move to another direction. But the problem right now with Marvel is that ever since we've left the original Avengers, we've been seeing a lot of tanking at the box office.
Yes, the box office, the opening weekend box office has been lower and lower almost every time,
Okay,
outside
now,
of Spider-Man No Way Home.
okay, now, is some people will say, are we having superhero fatigue? Or is
Yeah.
it that is that what we're having? Is people just, okay, you're going to have to do something better of this? Or are we starting to get away from because the mainstream, they know the Hulk. Okay. They know, of course they all know Thor now. They know, they know this core
Right.
cast. Okay. And now you're starting to bring in these, some of these people that are not very well known.
Right.
I mean, is that happening? I mean, what? Because the mainstream is what's bringing the money in for MCU.
Oh, yeah.
I mean that's the bottom line. So, and there was a lot of hate on Marvel, and I felt like from the very beginning, Captain Marvel and that whole bit. I mean, there's been resistance on that forever, and
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's just they're targeting Brie Larson. I like Brie Larson. I think she's a good actress. I don't, I have some ups and downs feelings about Captain Marvel, but overall, I had fun with the movie. But what's happening? Why is there's this so volatile right now with fanboys and then the mainstream, and then I mean, it can't be because of the post pandemic. I mean, is it movie theaters? Are people still not wanting to go to movie theaters? Is it, what's the deal?
Okay. So the question is it that people aren't going to the theater? Or is it that people are tired of superheroes in general?
Yeah.
Or are they tired of Marvel because there's just too much of it?
Yeah.
Or is it because they just haven't been doing a good job of writing for these characters?
Yeah.
And I think it's probably some combination of all the above. I'm not going to say there isn't some superhero fatigue. Now, when I say that, I mean looking at the broad movie-going audience.
Yeah.
There might be some superhero fatigue.
Yeah.
I will never have superhero fatigue.
Yeah, me neither.
I could go see a superhero movie every weekend, and it would I would still keep going. Every weekend. It would never bore me.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, I read comics for decades, on a monthly basis.
I know it.
I get tired of that.
Yeah.
But for the broad movie going audience, I think that could be a thing.
It could be.
Now, I will say there have been some major writing issues in some of the Marvel films.
I agree.
Just some things that were big hits, some things that were big misses, some things that were kind of uneven in an individual film. Like maybe the overall story arc was okay, but there were some things that really made the movie just not sparkle like some of the others.
Well, do you think? My question is, do you think? And I kind of feel this way what was the last, we did everything by phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and I think what was the last phase where we had the original cast, I think was Infinity War.
Yeah, that was the end of phase 3.
And then you had Endgame, which was, I think that was the very
that
last
was the
one.
last. Yeah, that was the last film of phase 3. Phase 4 really didn't feel like it had any direction at all.
I think that's the problem.
And we were hitting the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was the perfect storm for Marvel not to be successful.
Yeah.
And I feel like they haven't really gotten their feet under them since. Now, speaking of the pandemic, I brought this up last week. We just crossed over, and this year has 7 more weekends, something like that, left, give or take. We just crossed over the 2022 box office for the year.
Yeah.
So we've done better. The total box office, all movies, all year, we're just above where we were last year.
Yeah.
But box office numbers, if you compare pre-pandemic levels, we're talking the early 2000s. We're not talking about we're almost back to 2015 even.
Yeah.
We're talking about 2001, 2002, 2003 levels of total box office for the year. And even if we have a really good next 7 weeks, we're probably still not breaking the box office number that we hit in 2010.
Gotcha.
So that's a major hit.
Yeah, that is.
So that is a big culprit in all of this, I think. But we do see outlier movies like Barbie or the Mario movie.
Yeah.
Where, there are some absolute home run movies.
Do you think because they're just so different and I guess I hate to use the term, but fresh, something different?
Could be. The Marvel does kind of have a, they got the in the comics industry, they used to call it the Marvel way.
Yeah.
There was this particular way that the particular way that you drew, the particular way that you wrote stories. They called it the Marvel way. And I think the films have the same kind of thing. There's this particular way that they make movies.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe that is a bigger culprit.
Oh, that could be. It could be.
But like this Loki series, this is probably one of the best things that I've seen in the last, outside of maybe
I did love
No Way Home.
Mm-hmm.
This may be the best thing I've seen since No Way Home.
Well, I did like Secret Invasion. I did enjoy it.
I did too, but I think this is written better.
Oh no, I totally agree with you. I mean,
I'm not saying that anything is. I'm not saying that the other things were bad.
No. I
think this was better written, better thought out.
Oh, I agree.
And it wraps up so nicely. And it wasn't where I thought we were going. I always knew it was going to be a Loki redemption story. Mm-hmm. I always knew that was going to be a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'd already kind of gotten his redemption story. But this kind of finishes it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of don't want a season 3.
No, I don't think we should. I get what you're saying.
If they did a TVA show where Mobius comes back and we get
Yes,
maybe some new team members.
we're talking about like an Agent of Shields with the
Yes.
TVA. That's kind of where I'm coming from on that.
I
I
could
could
see
see
that
that
being a
happening.
thing.
Yeah.
I could see that being a thing, and I think it would be okay. But I don't think. I feel like it wrapped up so nicely. I don't want a season 3 of Loki where we start
No.
all over.
No. No. I agree. I like how it ended. I love the storyline. The actors are awesome. I just love the actors in it.
Mm-hmm.
They all did very well, and I think it. I think it tied up really well. I think it
Yeah,
tied everything the way
and
it should have. And
and I wasn't expecting a Groundhog Day movie.
no, I wasn't either. And that's what got my attention. That's the first thing I think. I kept thinking Bill Murray was going to pop out for a couple of times. But,
Ooh, speaking of Bill Murray, there's going to
yeah,
be there's going to be a new Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. Yes. Yes. That's right.
Sorry.
No.
Sidetrack.
I saw the trailer of it. Yeah. That was,
I didn't even know it was in the works.
I didn't either. I knew they were going to work I knew they were going to do another movie. And here we are talking about something else. We'll talk that on another show. But anyway, I like the first one. The first one, it was really good. So anyhow, I do like I said, I really enjoyed it. I wasn't for sure what I thought of it first, but I really, really enjoyed it.
Once again, Disney streaming shows are more like 4-hour movies than they are episodic shows.
And I think, we talked about the future of Marvel, and honestly, the streaming shows up to this point, I have enjoyed more than what I've seen so far at the theaters.
I have too, and I think it's because they're able to dig deeper into the storytelling.
I agree.
They're able to tell a more full story.
Yeah.
This is the Zack Snyder's Justice League thing.
Yes,
the
exactly.
4-hour movie, as long and drawn out as it is so much better than the 2-hour version.
Yeah. And he's
even with almost all the same story beats.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Which now we discussed this a few weeks ago as well. Feige, or I don't remember if it was Feige or if it was somebody else from Marvel, was saying that they're thinking about moving away from this mini-series, is what I'm going to call it, this mini-series model, and go more into a traditional TV model where you have a pilot episode, you see how it goes. If it goes good, you book it, and it's more of a episodic show where each episode is its own story and it moves on to the next story, and maybe there's an overarching story arc.
I don't know,
but not like this where nothing really makes sense until you've seen it all.
Yeah,
and I think in their brains they said we need to do that because people aren't getting it when they just watch the first couple episodes. They have to see the whole thing. But that's what I like about it.
Well, I do too. And that's the thing. You can't dumb it down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm concerned. You don't dumb it down, because then you're going to lose your core audience. You're going to lose the people who buy your comics and go to your movies and stuff. I mean, the ones that us fanboys, and girls.
Like you mentioned Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. earlier. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a decent show.
I enjoyed it,
but I don't enjoy it the way I like these mini-series kinds of shows.
Yeah, I do too. Same here. I mean, if you want to continue, I mean, you can, the thing is, I mean, you can make it into a series. I mean, like let's talk about, like TV shows that are in in Great Britain, like I
Mhm.
mentioned our favorite show, the IT Crowd. Well,
Yeah.
their seasons, there may be 6 episodes or 8
Every
episodes for a
every
season.
season has a different number of episodes for some
Yeah.
unknown reason.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so
So,
weird.
yeah, I mean, that's just how it is. And so our
Drives
mindset
my
here,
wife nuts. She
yeah, the
gets into
mindset,
some show and then
yeah,
it's like, "What do you mean there's only 12 episodes across 2 seasons?" This is
exactly.
the way they do things.
So, I mean, so here in the US, we're so used to 20 episodes a
Mhm.
season or
Yeah.
whatever. I'm just throwing
Yeah.
a number
20
out
to
there.
22 no, 20 to 22 is pretty
Yeah.
standard. 23, 24 is a little long. Less than 20 is a short season.
Yeah.
And
So
usually it's a
yeah,
short season because the show didn't do well and they canceled it.
exactly. Exactly. So I don't know. I it's almost like they're wanting to go back to, Marvel TV Studios that they did away with, I
Yeah.
mean, remember when they got,
I don't want to go back to that.
I don't want to go back to that. No, the story is better. The storytelling is deeper and it's better now with this format. And plus you're bringing in good actors. I mean, actors are
Yeah.
coming in, and of course, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
because they don't, they're coming in like looking at this as a 4-hour movie. It's
Yeah.
not something they have to commit,
Yep.
to this, like a TV contract or something like that. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what Feige is thinking behind that. I hope they're not trying to dumb it down. I mean,
I will say when Daredevil comes out, we'll have a better idea.
we'll have a bit because
Because
sounds like to
Daredevil
me
is
that's
kind
what they want to do. Yeah,
Yep, that's the first one.
yeah,
They basically said we're gonna scrap, rewrite, and re-edit what
oh,
already
man.
exists.
Yeah,
And that was supposed to be a really long season for Marvel anyway.
yeah.
What did I tell you?
Yeah,
12 or 18
yeah.
episodes?
It was,
Something like
a
that.
lot. I mean, 12
Yeah.
within itself is pretty
12
massive.
would be the longest one so far, I
Yeah,
think. But I think
exactly.
it was more than that.
Well, I think yeah,
Echo is coming up. And
Echo. Yeah,
it's going to be slightly longer. I think it's going to be 8 episodes. But I think it's still the same. Unless I'm mistaken, it's still this same style.
this
Where
style.
if you watch the first episode or two, you may not connect with it. You're going to have to watch the whole thing to make it make sense.
I just don't. It's kind of like I just remember what it puts what makes me remind me and it makes me cringe, like the remember when Marvel tried to do like Captain America TV show in the 70s, and this the really campy
Yeah.
stuff, and it's every week, the
Yeah.
monster of the week kind of deal, and for me Marvel just it's better than that. I mean,
Yeah, I think so.
for people to come and watch, there has to have continuity. Okay, what's going to happen next week because we know this happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like watching Scooby Doo every week. You didn't have to watch the past 2 episodes. It's it's Don Knotts on this one, and it's and Davy Jones from the Monkees. I'm showing my age, but anyhow,
yeah. Well, and I like the fact that these shows affect what's going to happen in the movies.
I do too,
and vice versa. I like the idea that this is like a comic book continuity, where I mean,
something DC couldn't do. DC tried and couldn't do.
Except for some odds and ends that they just ignore. Like a giant, a giant creature sticking out of the Indian Ocean. We have ignored that. Nobody talks about. We don't talk about the
no, I don't.
The Eternals on here.
Oh no! Oh yeah, we don't.
But even that did have some good characters.
Yeah, I did.
But like this, I really liked all the characters. I liked all the actors. I'm slightly disappointed that Jonathan Majors might be a total jerk, and I don't think that. I think that's still a ongoing court case. So it's a little up in the air, but Marvel can't.
I mean, I love the character Timely.
Yeah. Oh, Timely was fun.
Yeah, I really liked the character, and I liked And I liked, Jonathan Majors as an actor, the first episode. I mean, at the end, I mean, he was just very good. And so it's very good at it. So not taking away from him as an actor. So
absolutely.
So anyway, but yeah, I don't have anything else, but if you have not seen Loki, watch it. It's really good. Stick with it. Okay. Just, stick with it. That's the key.
You need to get to like episode 4.
Yeah.
For it to really get rolling.
You'll be glad that you have. If you hadn't seen episode 1, then you better go see season 1 and see season 1. But again, it's
because there are some callbacks to season 1 that will not quite make sense.
No.
So last question for you, Mike.
Yes.
If they do bail on Majors and they just wipe the slate clean of He Who Remains, Kang, and they jump to Doctor Doom, will you be happy with that, or will you be disappointed that we didn't get to see the finish of Kang?
At first I wasn't for sure how I felt. I mean, I really want to see a Doctor Doom.
I do too.
I really do.
I want to see a good Doctor Doom.
That's the key.
We haven't seen. Yes, we have yet to see a good Doctor Doom, and I think this is a good Kang.
I do too.
I was excited about Kang.
No.
The only thing that's, as far as I'm concerned, the only thing that was really interesting about Kang is the fact that he was one of the first big bads in the Avengers comics in the 60s.
Yeah. And for the folks listening, that it has nothing to do with Jonathan Major. We're talking about as far as a comic character.
Yeah, as a comic character. When they announced it as Kang, I was like, okay, I guess that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, but Doctor Doom is
There's lots of people I'd rather have seen as the
big baddie. Exactly. Yeah. I agree. So, but it has to be a good one, okay? Because we've had Fantastic Four before, and
and if we go with the major thing that I would hope for, and this was something I was really disappointed with, is when they announced Secret Wars, and we don't have a Doctor Doom, because in Secret Wars, Doctor Doom is a huge player.
Exactly. Yeah.
In those movies, in those comics. And you've got to have that character that is raging for power.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like the MCU right now has, like, even Kang, he's not that guy. He's a troublemaker.
Yeah.
He's not positioning himself to be the all-powerful leader of the universe.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but maybe, I don't know.
Who knows? But anyway, leave your comments. We have, we're on.
We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I would love to hear from him.
Even if you live in Braxton, Oklahoma.
Yeah, especially if you live in Braxton, Oklahoma. Leave your comments. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/Speaking Nerdy. You can get us on speakingnerdy.com. You can get Speaking Nerdy on Spotify, on your Apple Podcasts, any place you get your podcasts, audio, we're there. And, we also have our Facebook group. Check it out. Our Facebook page, Instagram, all that stuff. Just search Speaking Nerdy and we are there. I don't have anything else. Do you, my friend?
I do not.
Well, thank you, folks, for joining in, and we will see you again soon. If we don't see you before the holidays, have a great Thanksgiving. I'm Mike Schilling, my good friend Ricky Pope, and now it's time to say goodbye.
This has been the Speaking Nerdy podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe. Man.
Time keeps on
Frickin'
slipping into the
into the
future.
future.
I'm very disappointed they didn't use that
Yeah,
song.
I know. Me too. That would have been a great song. And now because we sang that, we'll be copyrighted.